Oh, it's spring now. You can really tell how long it took me to do this video.
Hey guys, it's Crystal, and we are back with a camera comparison. Finally, first of the year. And you probably clicked on this video today because you're wondering which of these two phones takes better photos, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus or the iPhone XS Max. Hopefully today we help you decide which one you prefer.
Pulled and pushed away. My friends don't bring you up no more. I'm sure yours don't mention me. I remember how we were before. It don't feel like memories. Why can't I get over you?
Now, usually in the beginning of all of these comparison videos, I take a look at the specs of both of the phones that I'm comparing. So here they are, and we know what we're working with the XS Max, the two 12 megapixel cameras. S10 Plus also has two 12 megapixel cameras with the addition of that third 16 megapixel ultra wide lens on the back. So yeah, I'm excited to see how those ultra wide photos came out. But I mean, specs are cool and all, it's cool to see them, but it's not until we put those photos side by side that we truly get to see what these cameras are capable of and their differences. So let's take a look at some of these photos and videos. Let's start with this basic daylight photo of myself with the sun in the background. I think both phones did a good job at handling that, except you can definitely see some overexposing going on the XS Max. But there's definitely some other differences going on here. Zooming into my face, you can already see the S10 Plus has that beautifying thing going on. It kind of softens a lot of areas of the image, like my face. And another thing that I was definitely expecting with the S10 Plus, because I'm used to seeing it on Galaxy phones, is that the colors are definitely popping out a little more. If you take a look at the darker areas like my boots in this photo and just all throughout, you can see that the iPhone X is crushing those shadows a little bit. The S10 Plus just kind of seems to fade them out. Standing in the same spot, let's take a look at this live focus and portrait mode picture that my sister Gabby took of me. And right now my eyes are gravitating towards the S10 Plus because it just keeps me so nice and sharp, while the iPhone XS Max, because of all that sun hitting it, kind of has like that fade going on. The colors are once again more vibrant and just coming out more on the S10 Plus, but I do like that the iPhone doesn't soften the image too much. Like clearly we see it in my face, but also in my jacket. You can still see like that texture, like the suede material on my coat. Yeah, I like the more realistic look to the iPhone's picture when it comes to that, but overall, in terms of contrast and brightness, I think I prefer the S10 Plus here. And here's another portrait live focus picture from a different day. Clearly, you're gonna see a whole range of photos in this comparison because it took a while. And the first thing I want to point out about this photo that's very visible, even more so than the last one, is that background. You can see a lot more of it on the S10 Plus. It doesn't use its telephoto lens like the iPhone does to take these pictures, so you're gonna get a much wider picture. Putting them side by side, the background is always going to look different, but we tried to match it up as much as we could. Now with the iPhone here, I like the way that it handles its color temperature, like it's more balanced, where the S10 Plus kind of shifts towards the cooler side of things. The iPhone XS Max also adds a little too much grain in certain areas of the picture. Like you can clearly, you see it the most in my hair, but you see it on my shirt and my jeans, where the S10 Plus is doing that beauty mode thing. I think because of how windy it was, there's definitely portrait mode mistakes in both of them. I just gotta say, I really appreciate how great both portrait and live focus has gotten over the years, because in the beginning when that feature first came out in phones, you can really see a lot of mistakes in the edges, separating that background and foreground. There was always like rigid edges, and I feel like it's just gotten so much better. So this next photo, another daylight shot, but with less sun coming from the background. And yeah, these look really different. I mean, the first thing sticking out is that the iPhone XS Max looks like it's missing color. And I'm usually all for a more natural looking photo, but I love the way the S10 Plus looks right out of the camera. But once again, the S10 Plus is definitely softening things up a little more. I just wish it was a little less soft looking. All right, so now we have a photo of this beautiful clock. It's just a regular photo, so there's no portrait mode going on here. There's no ultra wide camera, just just main lens. The sky is bluer looking and more saturated on the S10 Plus. Other than that slight difference in colors, everything's exposed pretty well on both photos. And now let's take an even closer look of this clock with the telephoto lens on both phones. Kind of the same as the main camera, where you know, that bluer sky is coming out a little more on the S10 Plus. Also, the shadows are a bit darker. And in this next photo, there is a lot to look at. But the first thing my eye is catching is the difference in the blues of the sky. It's a little more baby blue on the XS Max. Now, putting the shadows and highlights aside, when it comes to the color temperature in the photo, the iPhone XS Max is consistently the warmer picture. So yeah, the biggest difference between these two photos are the way that the colors are handled and the difference in exposure. They both do a great job at keeping detail even with less sun in the shot. In this next photo, I wanted to see how the phones would handle this bright pink building. And yeah, in terms of colors, again, it's warm versus cool, where the XS Max is the warmer looking photo. And it kind of goes in its favor because it really helps that pink come through more, and overall the picture is brighter and just better exposed as well. And here's a daylight sunset photo. And just like in the last one, everything's a little more balanced in terms of exposure on the XS Max. Now the S10 Plus is looking a little too dark in those shadows. Color temperature isn't too different, but the S10 Plus is looking a little bluer. Now when we zoom into these photos to take a look at the details on my face, we can see that the S10 Plus isn't overdoing the softness that it usually does in its pictures, but zooming out, they're both great photos, and it definitely is up to preference. You really can't go wrong with either. This next one is a more macro shot, nice and close up to this plant. The biggest thing that jumps out is that warm versus cool. It is super apparent in this photo. It almost looks like a totally different day when it comes to color temperature. The S10 Plus is also the overall brighter picture, and you can see that in those highlights. But the S10 Plus also does a better job at keeping things sharper and more in focus and just adding contrast where it's needed when you're this close to the subject. Now I'm going to get into more landscape photos, so we're further away from everything. And yeah, in this photo, it was an overcast day. Things are not going to look too different other than the color temperature. And another thing that's consistent is those brighter areas and highlights on the S10 Plus. Once again, brighter, and when you zoom into that snow on the boardwalk, you can see that we start to lose a little detail because it's a brighter photo. Overall, the iPhone XS Max looks more flat when compared. So I feel like we have a pretty good idea of daylight photos when it comes to these phones, where things are usually brighter on the S10 Plus in its highlights and darker in the shadows. And when it comes to color temperature, the S10 Plus is usually cooler, its tint is usually more pink, and the iPhone XS Max is the opposite, with warmer pictures and a more green tint to its photos. Again, the S10 Plus is usually the more vibrant photo. Yes, you get a more natural look on the iPhone XS Max, but right out of the camera, the S10 Plus is going to give you that more edited feel in its photos. The S10 Plus is usually softer looking. And before we get into low light photos, I just want to give a quick shout out to the S10 Plus's ultra wide camera on the back, because it's a nice little added bonus to having that phone. You get ultra wide pictures. A lot of the pictures that I took, there's an ultra wide version. Of course, I can't compare it to the iPhone's camera because there's no ultra wide camera on that phone. But yeah, they look really cool, and just really appreciating having that on the S10 Plus. But beyond the really cool ultra-wide camera, the S10 Plus has even more added bonuses to its camera, like Pro Mode in the camera app, which isn't new, but it's cool to have. There's also a scene optimizer to help you better position shots when you're taking a picture, and things like flaw detection to let you know if somebody blinked in the photo or if it's a little too blurry. So if you're the type of person that really likes to dive into camera settings, the S10 Plus is probably the phone for you, where the iPhone XS Max is a little more user-friendly. And here's a very first low-light photo, and the iPhone XS Max looks desaturated, looks more dull, less bright. The S10 Plus already, like right out of the camera, looks like it was edited and looks ready to go. If you're someone who likes to edit your photos and really work on them yourself, then you're gonna prefer the XS Max more flat, more raw look. But on to the next low light photo, where this is clearly a different type of shot, but the characteristics kind of remain the same, where the iPhone XS Max, again, is more faded and flat looking compared to the more contrasty and vibrant photo of the S10 Plus. I think I prefer the colors of the XS Max here, just because they're a little less yellow and green looking overall. And here's another shot where we're getting closer to our subject, and just look at the difference in these icicles here. Zooming in, we can clearly see more detail on the S10 Plus. The XS Max also gives us a more unflattering green tint when it comes to its colors here. And in this next low light photo with my good friend Andres, shout out to Andres en Inglés here on YouTube. I mean, this photo really isn't that different. The shadows are kind of handled the same. Things don't look that different other than the sign, the neon sign. The S10 Plus takes a really weird approach to it where it kind of adds some orange to it. And I took another similar photo to this where it kind of does the same thing. So I don't know what was going on there. I guess it just reacts to that type of light differently. But besides that and all the highlights of the photo, they really don't look that different. But in any type of low light scenario from phone to phone, the differences remain pretty consistent where the S10 Plus is definitely more vibrant. Those colors come out and pop out more. There's more contrast resulting in a sharper looking photo. And the iPhone's picture once again is a little more dull and faded, but definitely easier to work with when it comes to editing photos. I also have some selfies to take a look at, starting with this selfie of Gabby and I on a very cold winter day. I think both phones did amazing with their HDR modes and everything's nice and balanced when it comes to exposure as well. Things are slightly brighter on the S10 Plus once again, and we've seen that all throughout, so I kind of was expecting that with selfies as well. Zooming into my face, that beauty mode on the S10 Plus is coming through, and I say that just because of how soft it is, but there was no beauty mode on. And in this next selfie, the colors are different again, pinker tones on the S10 Plus and a more green tint on the iPhone XS Max. Of course, I also have some portrait selfies. Took advantage of the wide angle on the S10 Plus because we also get a wide angle selfie, and I just love that feature so much. I love that it gets a lot more in the shot, and when there's more people involved, it'll be easier to fit everybody in. You have a more crisp looking photo on the S10 Plus besides the fact that it looks like there's some beauty mode going on again. And yeah, those highlights are definitely brighter once again. The S10 Plus also gives us these live focus selfie effects. Looks cool, but I don't know how often I'm gonna use these. And I'm gonna throw in a quick low light selfie too. S10 Plus selfies tend to be a little too soft for my liking sometimes, but I do like that it brings more light into the photo. And here's a portrait mode and live focus picture when it comes to low light, and the S10 Plus does a great job at holding up, keeping in light. It's sharp, colors look great, just everything about it makes it a decent looking photo.
And going straight into an S10 Plus 4K video test, already can tell the colors are going to be a little more popping than on the iPhone XS Max. So just like the pictures, if you want that more edited feel, you'll get that in video too. Another thing to know is that there is an HDR10 Plus video recording option in advanced settings. So you can record video in a flat profile to really take control of color and contrast, which is pretty cool. And looking at some similar 4K footage on the iPhone XS Max, you can tell the shadows and highlights are a little more balanced straight out of the camera. But S10 Plus footage seems slightly more stable and less shaky. And when it comes to focusing on things, both seem pretty quick, so no huge difference there. But now time for some selfie video action, starting with the S10 Plus. Okay, testing the selfie video, which I don't usually ever use that much, but it's cool that this is in 4K right now. Come, Gabby, come on, follow me.
I'll follow you.
Let's walk. Let's walkity walk, see how smooth and stable it is. What do you guys think? Clearly, I mean, it looks good on the display because this phone's display is just really great, but let me know what you guys think of how it looks when I import it into the video. Cool. Classical XS Max selfie video, which again, don't really do that much. I don't know. I mean, it's looking pretty good. It's not looking too overexposed right now. Let me know what you guys think again.
So that's pretty much all the photos that I've taken on the S10 Plus and my iPhone XS Max since the S10 Plus came out. And obviously they both do a really good job, but there's definitely differences between the two and things that you might prefer over the other phone, especially when it comes to low light photos. I feel like the S10 Plus takes the cake in most of those. And by now I probably sound super repetitive, but it really comes down to the type of photos that you want to take. If you're somebody who likes to edit your photos more and have more control over them, you're gonna prefer the iPhone XS Max's more natural look. And when it comes to the S10 Plus, if you like that more edited look, if you want something straight out of the camera that just looks good right away and you prefer cooler color temperatures in photos, then yeah, go for the S10 Plus. So let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and also stay tuned for more camera comparisons, more reviews, more of everything. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you later.